To start off this project, we actually need to go back in time about 9 months when we started our addition. We ended up extending that room about 14 feet, and that gave us a brand new clean slate, which in turn allowed us to dig through our storage unit, which yes, was just our garage, and find those existing cabinets. I'd kind of just thrown them down there and realized this might work. You can see that we rearranged it in that top shelf we now put down at the bottom, and all that we were missing was a countertop. So I took those partition boards, cut them down to size, which ended up being the only pieces I needed to cut, and then the fun begins with a bucket load of sanding. I'll admit it, I hate sanding almost as much as painting, but listening to it sped up, it actually sounds like a really cool swarm of bees. So here's another clip. Primer, paint, and roller. Here's a couple tips that we did. We used a resin-based primer with Benjamin Moore's Advanced paint, and then we used a 1/4-inch nap roller, and that's so then you can get a nice, smooth, flat finish, which is most likely what you'll want with cabinets or countertops. We ended up doing 1 coat primer and 2 coats of the final paint. Here I'm actually clamping down the 2 cabinets because if you noticed that middle cabinet, or carcass as you will, carcass, it's kind of a fun word to say 10 times, carcass, it was a little shorter than cabinets, and we obviously wanted it all the same height, so I shimmed it all up and screwed it all together. Right here I've got a great shot of just my shoulder. And since I missed that shot, let me tell you what I was doing. I was countersinking some screws for that edge piece to go into the countertop. It's really a twofold purpose. The countersunk hole allows the screw head to sit flush with your piece, and it doesn't split the wood when you're screwing it in. So to fill that and make it completely flat and blemish free, you get some little wood putty, wood filler. This is Crawford putty. Put a little ball on the tip of a putty knife and fill the hole. Sometimes you may need to sand it a little bit, but once you apply the paint, you cannot see where any of those screws are. Next up is the doors. These are actually existing hinges, and yeah, they're not your typical soft close, but we don't get into them enough to actually care about that. To give us yet just a little more room, we decided to throw a shelf down here. It was very simple because, first of all, we already had the extra wood left over from the countertop portion. All I had to do was cut it to size, and I drilled out those little holes for the pegs, feet holder, I don't know, shelf holders. You know what I'm talking about, right? Final piece for the cabinet ended up being a 5/8" MDF board. On to some exciting things, and that is actually mounting the TV. This may be why half of you are even here. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail, and that's just because every TV mount is a little different, and I would much rather you follow their instructions than mine and have something go wrong. Some of you might be thinking, hey, that doesn't look like a 75-inch TV, and you would be correct. That is a 55-inch. Mine was a little delayed in shipping. Nevertheless, it showed up and has been well worth the wait. I'm not afraid to admit it, I was actually freaking nervous to mount this big old sucker. It is by far the biggest TV I've ever mounted, and so I followed the instructions and everything turned out right. Side note, it actually says in the instructions not to use a drill. Yes, I was just seeing if you were paying attention. And well, there's the side comparison between a 75-inch and a 55-inch. And with the help of my lovely assistant Vanna White, just kidding, that's my wife, we were easily able to lift it up onto the countertop and snap it into place. Cross your fingers, and whew, it didn't fall back down. With the new entertainment center, we needed a new TV, right? Well, with a little persistence, I talked to the bank into letting me get this new 75-inch Samsung 4K UHD Q60T, blah, 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 blah. Either way, it's not a new LG OLED, but hey, I mean, we didn't really have $5,000 more to spend. By all means, this is a major upgrade from our old 55-inch Panasonic, which I think was 12 years old. In case you've been wondering throughout the video, yes, I did add a LED strip on the back side of the TV, and really you can change it any color you want. It's just a cheap little $15 Amazon strip. Whether we're gonna keep it up or not, I don't know. Probably not, because it's kind of distracting when you're watching a show. But it's good for parties and, what, parties? Who am I kidding? We don't have parties. And the only other thing I was gonna talk about is, of course, the cost. We already had the cabinets, and we already had the paint. So really, we just had to buy some doorknobs, and that was about it. Oh, and the TV. Minor little thing. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.